Welcome. In this recording, I will, talk about a few things, mostly who I am, the whole my ultimate self. Why my ultimate self? Why did I write the book called My Ultimate Self? How Death Became My Motivator. Not only did I write the book, but write and publish the book. And then go back to the whole notion of reflection, which is a part of what I call my ARADA framework. There is the first step, acceptance, and then you get to reflection. So I'm going to go more in depth. I spoke about it in my last video. And so I just wanted to reflect and take a deeper dive into what it means to reflect. Then I am going to, talk about the importance of focusing on positive and the negative while you're reflecting, to embrace and love your inner child, because we have gone through a lot as adults, right? We've gone through some trauma, some things. And so we need to go back and embrace our inner child, our inner selves. Then the notion of cleaning your mirror. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to get back to that. And then this year is my dad's 11th memorial, like 11 years ago, he passed away. This year, 11 years. And it just so happened that this year, on that same day, a very good friend of mine, his funeral is on that day. And I'm getting a little emotional just even thinking about it. And so, why use death as a motivator? Because we ultimately want to be the best version of ourselves. And I think it's one thing that we can use to just motivate us to do what's right and what's necessary to live our best life. My name is Esther. I am many things. I just happen to be the author and publisher of My Ultimate Self, How Death Became My Motivator. It's available on Amazon, several of the local bookstores in the Maplewood, Milburn area. It's also on Ingram Spark, a distributing site for self-publishing authors. And you can also get the link from my website, estherlures.com. And if you see me around, I usually have a couple books with me, so you can also purchase it from me. So in addition to that, I am a supervisor with one of the largest school districts in New Jersey. I'm an adjunct professor at NJIT, and I also volunteer on the City of North Caribbean Commission, where I promote my culture, Jamaica, as well as other Caribbean islands. I wanted to go back to the notion of reflection. As I mentioned, it is the second step in my framework. The first one is acceptance. And after you just accept where you are, whatever you're going through, just accept it, right? Nobody's going to beat you. You are where you are. You did what you did, so accept it. And then you can move forward. And so in this reflection stage, not just think about the things that went wrong, but think about the things that went right. And as you're thinking about what went wrong, right, you're going to see how you can try to avoid certain things in the future. The things that went right, how can you replicate those things and processes and steps and tasks so that you can improve, you can teach others, you can share with others the things that you did well. And it also allows you to be in that place of gratefulness, right? When you can think about, oh, yes, I did that right. That was something good. It just reassures and builds your confidence. And so don't just focus on the things that went wrong, but also look at the things that went right. As you are reflecting, it is very important that you embrace and love your inner child. We've also all gone through some traumatic things. And I shouldn't say we've all, right? There are some people who haven't gone through anything. And so it's hard for them to understand what people are talking about when you say, God is good and, yes, Lord, you brought me through, and you give your testimony. They can't relate because they haven't really gone through anything. And you can't, beat those people down because it's okay. It's good that they haven't gone through anything. And so if you are that person that have gone through some traumatic things, some challenges, and now you are at this stage, where you still feel like you're doing well, but there's always this thing that keeps bothering you, right? You have to go back, reflect, and find that inner child, that version of you that still yearns for your love, still yearns for the affection that they were seeking then, and just give it to them, right? Look over your life and see the instances where you made a mistake and you want forgiveness. You were hurt by others. Go back and forgive them, right? So find those instances, those things that are still lingering and is causing you not to show up as your best self, and just fix them, right? And move on. So now, where are you going? Set your goals. And as you're setting your goals, realize that the vision of yourself, right? Sometimes it can be clouded, right? We have mirrors in our bathrooms, or we use public restrooms sometimes, and sometimes those mirrors are dirty. But guess what? The image that you're seeing, it might be cloudy, it might look dirty, but you know that you are clean. You know you just came out the shower. And so those spots that are on the mirror are not a true reflection of who you are. But the vision that is showing up, right, is something that can throw you off. And so you have to look within yourself and know that the perspective that's there can get cloudy sometimes because of how people treat you, because of how people see you, the expectations that people have of you. And so you have to be grounded in yourself and know that, you know what, this is who I am, this is where I'm trying to go, and I am going to show up and be myself. You're going to show up with all your quirks, all your insecurities, all the things that you think, somebody don't like, right? Things that you like about yourself, but others don't like. And you get to, guess what? You're just going to let it be. Don't take it personal. You know who you are, and you know what you need to work on, right? If you have a quirk and you're fine with it, by all means, God bless you and move on. Work and focus on the things that you know it's going to bring you joy, it's going to bring you happiness, it's going to help you to serve and do God's work. And so, yes, clean your mirrors, show up as yourself, and don't let others cloud your vision. Don't cloud your vision of yourself. Don't see yourself with this veil over yourself, right? I just happened to go through some journals this morning, and I was so moved to see some of the things that I wrote. Like in 2019, I bought a notebook, and on the front of the notebook it says "You are enough." And would you believe that one of the first things I wrote in the notebook was, "Am I really?" Right? That was 2019, before I moved out of my marital home. I said, "Am I really?" And I wrote a whole poem about it. Am I really enough? And so I didn't write the date, but on April 14th of 2020, I wrote in that same notebook, and I'm going to read it. I put on my glasses because sometimes I can't see you without my glasses. So let me just read a little bit of what I wrote when I said, "Am I really enough?" It says, "I read it, I bought it, I wrote it, I said it, but am I really? If I believed it, then why do I still question my ability to be all that I am meant to be? Why do I see myself subside? Because I don't talk loud enough, I don't look fly enough, I don't be in the streets enough. I do pray hard enough, love enough, learn enough, teach enough, care enough, serve enough, help enough, be in the background enough, promote others enough." So I doubted, but I still had some confirmation that, I was enough. But then on April 14th, 12:57 a.m. So I'm just reading this because of the whole idea and notion of reflecting, right? So sometimes we journal or we write things down, or we think we're going to remember them, but we don't. Because if I didn't write this down and go back to it this morning, I would not have remembered all of these details. And so I'm just saying it's good to journal, right? Write down your thoughts or even voice notes, write voice notes of what you're feeling, what you're going through, so that years later, when you go through something and you look back, you can say, oh my gosh, you've grown so much. But yes, so this is what I wrote. I said, I am enough, to the point where my heart is heavy with joy, excitement, and that whimsical feeling called love. I used to feel that feeling when I thought about my exes and I listed their names, three of them. But today, I am proud to say I have relinquished those feelings and have held them for myself. That's because I've finally accepted that I am enough. I am enough love, strength, desires, godliness, aspiration, caringness, mindfulness, depression, laughter, understanding, loneliness, creativity, resourcefulness, hurt, mom, mother, self, everything else to others. In my house, my apartment, in my room, my bed, God is good. With His strength, I can do all things. So, yes, I am enough. I love me enough. And so, yeah, I wrote that. I was like, oh my gosh, like that's the moment. I can say that that was the moment when I started to really become my ultimate self. I didn't even read this when I wrote the book, but yeah, I. So just going back to the whole notion of reflecting, that it is important that you go back and embrace yourself during those moments. So yeah, while I was, going over it, I remember those moments of hurt, right? And it's natural to go back and you feel some emotions and you're like, oh, but you get past it and you give yourself congratulate yourself for getting beyond those moments where you were down and now you're doing better, right? You haven't mastered it all, but you're doing better. Clean your mirrors and use some type of method to keep track of your life so that in the future you can always go back and you can have a record, some notion that can remind you of where you've been, because yes, God is good. I did mention my dad passed away in 2013. So this year, October 8th, is 11 years since he passed away in Jamaica. And I still remember those emotions, right? I was on the third floor in the computer lab at Ivy Hill School when my sister, who was also working in the same building as an ESL teacher, she came and told me that my dad passed away. And, I it was like lunchtime and I worked out the day, but I remember driving home in my Honda and just crying, just wiping tears from my eyes as I'm driving home. And so I say that to say that I wrote the book, My Ultimate Self, How Death Became My Motivator, because yes, going through those type of loss, you get to a place where you understand what life is really about. Going through those type of hurt, you get to realize the importance of life, right? The importance of cherishing the loved ones that are here. So my dad's no longer here, but we have family members. And so how are you treating those people that are still here? In addition to that, right? I too am going to die at some point. So before I get to that place, I need to acknowledge the things that I need to do now. So even though the title of the book is My Ultimate Self, I want you to start to think about the things that you need to do, right? You too may have had loved ones who are lost, and everybody treat it differently. Everybody process it differently. Some people are able to move on. Some people are crippled by it. And so, there was my dad and then my grandnephew, Giovanni, who died in a car accident. And it was really his death that propelled me to write the book. And So his young death made me realize, oh my gosh, my family is really going through this. And so, how do I show up as the best version of myself for him, right? To do the things he's no longer able to do. I have life, I have the ability to do and to make an impact and to do things in his name. And so I am going to do all that I can do until I can't do it anymore. And so, yeah, so 11 years since my dad passed away, and the emotions that I felt then is has definitely subsided. So if you're going through that, if you're this is the first time you're experiencing loss, just know that it's gonna get better. It's gonna be hard for quite some time. There are gonna be moments when you just break down and don't know what's happening, but process those emotions, right? Um, Find ways to communicate with your person, right? Speak to them. Things you didn't say to them, speak it out, right? Just let it go, write it down, journal about it, journal about your feelings and your emotions, connect with people. And yeah, connect with me. Get a copy of my book if you haven't already done so, just to see how I talked about all the people in my life that passed away and how, as a child growing up, I created this story about death, right? I was so afraid of death. I didn't want to travel, didn't want to do anything because I was just afraid that I was going to die. And I had an image as a little girl that I felt so bad that I was going to die and the world was just going to keep on going. Like the leaves, the trees were going to keep on growing and I wasn't going to be there. So I created this story in my little mind when I was growing up because of all the people that died around me. And I just, that was a long kiss. I just knew that I had a lot to give it to this world, even though I was quiet and shy. I knew I was special and I just wanted to be here. And so, yeah, rest in peace, my dad, Reginald Birch from Swift River, Jamaica, who was a man who loved to give to others. He would give his last dollar to anyone who asked him, especially to young children who, needed lunch money or bus fare. I would give my dad money and then he would just go give it away. Right? He has a plan of what he wanted to do with that money, but somebody needed it more than him and he would give it to him. And so give it to that person. And so I also have that heart, but I am a little bit, mindful of how I give. But yeah, there's nothing that I have at this point. I think God has blessed me where material things are no longer, yeah, I drive a nice car. I want to be comfortable. I want, a house where I can easily. So, like right now, I'm into this recording, and my landlord is like walking and talking, and I'm like, I hope they're not making too much noise. But anyways, you probably wouldn't even know that because you probably didn't hear it. But no, I tell you. But anyways, yeah, I'm gonna move on. So, my dad, Reginald Birch in Jamaica. Thank you for everything that you have done. He was always so proud of me and Bridget. Like he would drive pump bus, just go look for him friend them for them sisse, we are his daughters. And so yes, I love my dad. So yeah. In my book there is a chapter about my dad as well. Chapter 7, Death of a Parent. Where it says Reginald Birch was a fierce and committed man of God. He was born to Adeline Manning and Lorenza Birch in 1923. So yes, this year he would have been 101 years old. He had a difficult life with the passing of his mother when he was only 4 years old. Eventually, he felt compelled to serve God at the First Holiness Church of the Apostolic Faith in Swift River and across Jamaica. So he was one of those elders who would go to the various churches in Portland and make sure that everything is okay.
He knew all the bus operators who transported goods from Portland to Kingston. He was a carpenter and tradesman, overseeing the building of roads, bridges, homes, and buildings. When my mom, Bridget, and I migrated to the United States, he decided to stay in Jamaica. So, yeah, my ultimate self. Chapter 7, Death of a Parent. So, I talk about my dad dying, and I talk about a few other people that passed away as well. Passing of a loved one. So, as I mentioned, my very dear friend, um, I hope it's okay to talk about this. Reverend Garvey Ince from Barbados passed away recently, and his funeral is on the 11th year anniversary of my dad's death. And so I know he wasn't well, but when I last spoke to him on August 24th, he said, he just gets a little tired sometimes, and he was, a few commissioners, we were supposed to go and look for him, and he said, yeah, man, come anytime. I asked him when is a good time, and he said, no, come anytime. But yeah, so that's Commissioner Reverend Idds. I mentioned him in my book because let's see if I can find the page. When I was going through my divorce, or even before that, he said he like recognized that I was this person that had a lot of potential, and he said, sometimes your partner can be jealous of who you are, so when you're in relationships, just be mindful of that. And I say that to say, somebody out there, right? You're in a relationship and you're going through things, you're trying to be the best version of yourself, but then every time you do, your partner is putting you down or not taking the opportunity to lift you higher. Like, just, be mindful of those circumstances. It says, my longtime friends, Bernard Rawlings and Keisha Jackson, provide honest feedback. My new friends, Mistress Amina Baraka and Alicia Graham, encourage me to explore my path and enjoy the present. Charlotte Jennings and Commissioner Reverend Ince always share words of encouragement. Yeah, he's always encouraging me just to be the best version of myself, too. To know that I am awesome and wonderfully made. So I'm gonna miss him. I sat at my desk the morning when I heard that he passed away and just cried. I was at my desk. So I'm also on a committee, the bereavement committee at my job, which our superintendent formed after his mother passed away 2 summers ago. And I've had the opportunity to communicate and interact with other individuals who have gone through loss. And so we realized it's something that we haven't really addressed. And so, while I sat there at work, I'm like, I think we need like a get it together room, right? When those things happen and you just need a space to just go and get yourself together. Yeah, so the next time we meet, I'm gonna probably bring that up. Death as your motivator. So as I mentioned, death will show up at some point. If you've never experienced it, God is good. But there will be times when you lose family members or close friends. And so when that time comes, use it as a motivator. And I would say, don't wait until it comes, use it now. Imagine death. If death were to come, use your life now to be the best version of yourself. Do all the things that you know you need to do. Do all the things that you have in your mind to do. Be the best speaker, be the best writer, the best dancer. Work on being your best self, because at any moment you can go, your loved one can go, and they'll die and won't see the best version of you, right? So just use that as that thing to live your best life.
Just be your ultimate self. And I mentioned before that your ultimate self doesn't mean that you're not okay with who you are right now, right? We know that we have greater in us. And so that's why we always aspiring to be the best version of ourselves. And once we are the best version of ourselves, I truly believe that all of the problem that we have in this world is because people aren't okay with who they are, right? Whether it's some self issue that they have or just not being confident with who they are. Once you are okay with yourself, right? I think you can then go beyond who you are. You can elevate and you are like no longer relevant because you now see people, you can identify with people, you can identify the God in people because you know God is in you. So if God is in you, then, and if you truly believe in God, then God must be in that other person. If God is in that other person, then you're going to respect that person with all the respect that you have for yourself. And so, being your ultimate self is getting that place where you are so confident and okay with who you are that yourself is no longer relevant, right? You've gone past yourself. You're now looking like at yourself being that person that you wanted to be, but you're still going to work on things. You're still going to do the things that are necessary because you know that God put a lot on you. He has a lot of expectation for you. And so there are things you need to do in order to keep going, to keep doing. As long as you have breath, as long as you're growing and being, you're going to continue to be your ultimate self. So thank you for listening. This would have been a live stream, but it's not. It's a recording. And my name is Esther Lures, author and publisher of My Ultimate Self, How Death Became My Motivator. And today I just wanted to go back to the topic of reflection, which is the second step in my framework, my ARADA framework. Starts with acceptance. Next is reflection. Next one is awareness. After awareness, you go to your decision making. After decision making, you are going to take some action and then it will take you to your results. And so the reflection piece, I really wanted to go back to it because I want to remind people to not just think on the negative, but think on both the positive and the negative as you are reflecting. And as you're reflecting, find some way to journal, capture those moments so that years later you can go back and see how far you have grown. As you are reflecting, remember to embrace and love your inner child because that inner version of you still is seeking for the love and attention and affection and the forgiveness and all those things that you wanted then. It still wants it now. So go back and give it to that version of you. Clean your mirror. That perception that you're seeing, sometimes it might be cloudy, but don't take it personal. Don't take that vision that others are putting on you or that you might see of yourself. Make sure that you accept the true version of who you are with all of your quirks, with all of your, shortfallings and all of your awesomeness. Clean your mirror. Then, yeah, my dad, memorial, 11 years. My loved one passed away. You too might have loved ones that pass away. And so just use them to motivate you as you step on becoming your ultimate self. Thank you. Be blessed.